What if the most valuable treasure you'll ever own isn't locked inside a vault, but hiding in a handful of ordinary pocket change? Every year, countless rare coins worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars are overlooked because they look just like every other penny. Today, we'll uncover hidden clues, surprising values, and the collector's secrets that could completely change the way you see your own coins. Thank you for your valuable time and your incredible support. Let's begin. Some of the most extraordinary treasures in the world do not begin inside a museum, a bank vault, or a millionaire's private collection. They begin in ordinary pockets, forgotten jars, dusty dresser drawers, and old family albums where a single coin quietly waits for someone to notice what generations overlooked. Imagine holding a small copper coin that has survived decades of history, passing silently from one hand to another while witnessing one of the most dramatic turning points in American history. At first glance, it seems almost too ordinary to deserve a second look. Its surface may carry the scars of countless transactions, its color may have darkened with age, and its tiny details may appear familiar. Yet collectors know that appearances can be wonderfully deceptive. Every mark, every letter, every trace of wear tells part of a much larger story. Some examples become cherished historical artifacts, while others remain simple reminders of everyday life in the early 20th century. The excitement lies in never knowing which one you may have until you look closely. That mystery is exactly what continues to draw collectors into the fascinating world of the 1941 D. Lincoln wheat cent. To truly appreciate this coin, it helps to travel back to America in 1941, a year filled with uncertainty and anticipation. The nation was slowly recovering from the hardships of the Great Depression, while factories across the country were becoming increasingly important as global tensions intensified. Although the United States had not yet fully entered the Second World War during most of that year, the industrial heartbeat of the nation was already growing stronger. Railroads carried raw materials across vast distances, steel mills worked tirelessly, and communities prepared for an uncertain future. Money changed hands constantly as businesses expanded and families continued their daily routines. Small denomination coins played a critical role in everyday commerce because nearly every purchase depended upon them. Into this rapidly changing America came another year's production of the Lincoln wheat cent, struck not as a commemorative issue or a collector's item, but as an ordinary coin meant to circulate through shops, markets, restaurants, and neighborhoods across the country. Nobody at the mint imagined that decades later thousands of collectors would examine these coins under magnification, searching for the finest surviving examples. The Lincoln cent itself already carried a remarkable legacy by the time 1941 arrived. Introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it became the first regularly circulating United States coin to feature the portrait of an actual historical figure, instead of the symbolic liberty that had appeared on earlier American coinage. The obverse was designed by Victor David Brenner, whose dignified portrait captured Lincoln facing to the right with quiet confidence rather than exaggerated heroism. Above the portrait appears the familiar word liberty, while the date rests comfortably to the right. The national motto, "In God We Trust," arches gracefully across the top, balancing the composition with remarkable simplicity. On the reverse, two elegant wheat stalks frame the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America, with EPLUBUSUNUM completing the design. Those wheat ears symbolize prosperity and the agricultural strength of the nation, making the reverse one of the most recognizable coin designs in American history. Its understated beauty explains why collectors affectionately refer to these pieces simply as wheat cents. The specific coin struck at the Denver Mint carries an additional feature that immediately distinguishes it from cents produced elsewhere. Just below the date on the obverse sits a small but unmistakable letter D, identifying Denver as its place of origin. That tiny mint mark represents far more than geography. It tells collectors which facility manufactured the coin, allowing them to compare production quality, strike characteristics, and survival rates with examples from Philadelphia and San Francisco. The Denver Mint had become an essential branch of the United States mint system, serving the growing western states while helping satisfy the nation's enormous demand for circulating coinage. Although millions of 1941 D cents were produced, every surviving example carries its own journey through history. Some remained tucked away shortly after leaving the mint, preserving their original brilliance. Others spent decades circulating through cash registers and wallets before eventually finding their way into collections. Physically, the 1941 D Lincoln wheat cent possesses characteristics that serious collectors memorize almost instinctively. It is composed of 95% copper, with the remaining 5% consisting primarily of tin and zinc, giving the coin its warm reddish appearance when freshly struck. Each coin weighs approximately 3.11 grams and measures about 19.05 millimeters in diameter. Its thickness is approximately 1.52 millimeters, making it comfortable to handle while still durable enough for heavy circulation. The edge is plain rather than reeded, a simple feature that distinguishes the cent from many larger American denominations. Fresh mint state examples often display vibrant red surfaces that shimmer under proper lighting, while older circulated coins gradually develop rich brown or chocolate-colored patinas through decades of natural oxidation. Many collectors appreciate every stage of this transformation because original color often tells part of the coin's preservation story. Examining these physical characteristics carefully also helps identify altered or counterfeit pieces that may not match official specifications. Despite its enormous production, collectors remain fascinated by the 1941 D because quality varies dramatically from one surviving example to another. Most pieces entered circulation immediately, where years of commerce softened Lincoln's hair, flattened the wheat stalks, and dulled the once brilliant fields. Finding a sharply struck specimen with crisp lettering, complete wheat lines, and minimal contact marks becomes increasingly challenging as the grade rises. Even among mint state examples, differences in strike quality can be surprisingly noticeable. Denver issues from this period sometimes display slightly softer details than collectors would prefer, making fully struck examples particularly desirable. This constant search for exceptional preservation transforms an otherwise common date into an engaging collecting challenge. Rather than chasing impossible rarity, many collectors pursue the finest quality they can reasonably afford, appreciating how subtle differences in condition dramatically influence desirability. As with many Lincoln wheat cents, legitimate collectible varieties and mint eras add another layer of intrigue. While the 1941 D is not famous for a major double die comparable to some legendary Lincoln cent varieties, specialists have documented minor repunched mint marks, die cracks, die chips, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, lamination errors, and occasional strike-through errors produced during normal mint operations. These are genuine mint-made errors rather than post-mint damage, and they attract collectors because they reveal the realities of high-speed coin production. A die crack may appear as a raised line crossing part of the design, while a clipped planchet leaves part of the coin missing because of a problem during blank production. Off-center strikes occur when the planchet is not perfectly aligned beneath the dies, creating dramatic visual effects depending upon the amount of misalignment. However, collectors should remember that true mint errors are authenticated through careful examination. Scratches, environmental damage, polishing, or alterations made after the coin left the mint are not considered legitimate mint errors, no matter how unusual they may appear. One of the greatest lessons experienced collectors learn is that patience matters more than excitement. It is easy to believe that every unusual-looking coin must be valuable, but successful numismatics depends upon careful observation and reliable information. Under magnification, genuine mint characteristics reveal themselves differently from accidental damage. Lettering remains sharp instead of smeared. Raised features caused by die defects differ from cuts or gouges created after circulation. The texture of original surfaces often tells an experienced eye whether a coin has been cleaned, repaired, or left untouched for decades. Cleaning, in particular, remains one of the most common mistakes made by beginners. A bright, polished surface may appear attractive initially, but professional graders usually recognize cleaning immediately, and such treatment often reduces collectible value significantly. Preserving originality almost always proves more rewarding than attempting to improve appearance artificially. Professional grading plays a central role in today's coin market, especially when high-quality examples are involved. Organizations such as PCGS and NGC examine coins independently, assigning standardized grades that allow buyers and sellers to communicate with greater confidence. The familiar Sheldon grading scale ranges from Poor 1 through Mint State 70, with increasing levels of detail, luster, and preservation determining each numerical grade. A heavily circulated 1941D may receive a grade within the good or very fine range if major design elements remain visible but show significant wear. Coins displaying only light circulation might achieve about uncirculated grades, while specimens retaining complete mint luster without circulation may qualify for mint state designations. At the highest levels, graders carefully evaluate strike quality, contact marks, color, and overall eye appeal, because even tiny differences separate one grade from the next. Those distinctions often have substantial effects on market value. For collectors considering market prices, realistic expectations are essential. Because the 1941D was produced in large numbers, circulated examples remain relatively affordable. Coins showing moderate wear often sell for only a few cents to several dollars depending upon their appearance and originality. Attractive, extremely fine, or about uncirculated pieces generally command higher prices, reflecting stronger detail and less wear. Mint state examples become progressively more valuable as grades increase, particularly when they retain full original red color rather than fading to red-brown or brown. Certified examples in the highest mint state grades may reach several $100s or more because truly exceptional survivors are far less common than their original mintage suggests. Genuine mint errors or recognized varieties, once authenticated, may command premiums depending upon rarity, visual impact, and collector demand. Yet it is important to understand that most ordinary circulated examples are valued primarily as collectible historical coins rather than life-changing financial discoveries. Authentication becomes especially important whenever a coin appears unusually valuable. Although counterfeiters tend to target rarer and more expensive dates, altered coins occasionally appear in the marketplace. Unscrupulous individuals may add a false mint mark, modify dates, or artificially recolor surfaces in hopes of increasing apparent value. Careful comparison with genuine examples, accurate measurements of weight and diameter, and professional examination all contribute to identifying authentic pieces. When significant value is involved, submitting the coin to PCGS or NGC provides both authentication and grading, giving future buyers greater confidence. Their tamper-evident holders also protect the coin from accidental damage while preserving the assigned grade for future transactions. Long-term preservation is another essential chapter in the story of every collectible coin. Copper is a reactive metal, meaning environmental conditions influence its appearance over time. High humidity, fingerprints, harsh chemicals, and improper storage can permanently alter surfaces. Collectors therefore handle valuable scents by their edges whenever possible, minimizing direct contact with the coin's faces. Archival quality holders, inert plastic capsules, or acid-free storage materials help shield coins from contamination while allowing safe viewing. Stable temperatures and low humidity further reduce the risk of corrosion or spotting. Most importantly, experienced collectors resist the temptation to clean, tarnish, or polish away natural tunning. Original surfaces often carry greater historical authenticity and stronger market appeal than artificially brightened ones. Eventually, every collector wonders where a treasured coin might be sold if the time comes. Trusted local coin dealers provide one convenient option, especially those with established reputations within the numismatic community. Regional coin shows also allow collectors to compare multiple offers while learning from experienced professionals. Certified coins frequently perform well through respected auction firms when condition or rarity justifies wider exposure. Reputable online marketplaces dedicated to collectible coins offer additional opportunities, provided sellers use clear photographs, accurate descriptions, and honest disclosures. Certification from PCGS or NGC often simplifies the selling process because buyers can verify authenticity and grade before making purchasing decisions, regardless of the selling method. Researching recent comparable sales helps establish realistic expectations and reduces the risk of accepting an unnecessarily low offer. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of the 1941 D. Lincoln wheat cent is not its market value, but its ability to connect modern collectors with ordinary Americans who lived through extraordinary times. Imagine a factory worker receiving this very coin as part of a paycheck before heading home to family. Imagine it passing across a grocery counter as children watched headlines about events unfolding across the world. Imagine it resting in a soldier's pocket before disappearing into circulation again for decades. Every scratch, every softened detail, every patch of fading color reflects human experiences that no written record could fully preserve. Coins are among the few historical artifacts designed to pass directly through countless hands, carrying silent witness to everyday moments that shaped an entire nation. That intimate connection between history and daily life explains why even a modest 1-cent coin continues to inspire curiosity more than 80 years after it was struck. For many collectors, the search never truly ends because each coin invites another question. Could there be a sharper strike waiting inside an old collection? Could an overlooked mint error still be hiding in a forgotten jar of pennies? Could a beautifully preserved red example emerge from an estate that has remained untouched for generations? Those possibilities keep the hobby alive, encouraging careful observation rather than quick assumptions. The 1941 D. Lincoln wheat cent reminds us that history does not always announce itself with dramatic headlines. Sometimes it survives quietly inside the smallest objects, waiting for someone patient enough to appreciate both their craftsmanship and their journey through time. Whether your example is a well-worn family keepsake or a brilliant certified mint state survivor, its true significance lies in the remarkable story it continues to tell about America, craftsmanship, resilience, and the enduring fascination of coin collecting. But this remarkable coin is only the beginning. Now let's move to our second coin, where the story becomes even more fascinating. But the story of the 1941 D. Lincoln wheat cent was only the first step into a much larger journey. As remarkable as that coin was, it came from a time when America was standing on the edge of history. Just a few years later, the nation looked completely different. Factories were running day and night, families were making sacrifices, and nearly every industry had become part of the war effort. Even something as small as a 1-cent coin could no longer escape the influence of world events. That brings us to coin number 2 in our countdown, the 1944 D. Lincoln wheat cent, a coin that may appear ordinary at first glance, but carries one of the most fascinating stories in the entire Lincoln wheat cent series. To understand why collectors pay so much attention to the 1944 D cent, we have to return to the middle of World War II. By 1944, the United States had fully transformed into an industrial powerhouse. Military vehicles rolled off assembly lines, aircraft filled the skies, and factories that once produced everyday goods were now manufacturing equipment for the war effort. Copper was one of the most important strategic metals, used extensively for ammunition, electrical wiring, communications equipment, and countless military supplies. Just 1 year earlier, in 1943, the United States Mint had made the extraordinary decision to strike Lincoln cents from zinc-coated steel instead of the traditional bronze alloy in an effort to conserve copper. Those steel cents became one of the most recognizable emergency issues in American history. But by 1944, the Mint found another solution. Instead of continuing with steel, officials returned to a bronze composition made largely from recycled brass shell casings collected from military training facilities. Suddenly, every new penny carried not only monetary value, but also a symbolic connection between the battlefield and the American home front. The Denver Mint played an important role in meeting the country's enormous demand for circulating coinage. Identified by the small D mint mark beneath the date, the 1944 D. Lincoln wheat cent was struck in tremendous numbers as commerce expanded across a nation operating at full speed. Millions of these coins entered circulation almost immediately, passing through grocery stores, railway stations, neighborhood markets, restaurants, and military communities. Every transaction represented another chapter in America's wartime story. Few people gave these cents a second glance. They were simply tools of everyday life. Yet decades later, collectors would realize that these humble coins preserved one of the most meaningful chapters in United States numismatic history. The design remained the classic Lincoln wheat cent that Americans had known since 1909. Victor David Brenner's dignified portrait of Abraham Lincoln dominates the obverse, with "In God We Trust" arching above his head, "Liberty" positioned to the left, and the date, with its distinctive Denver Mint mark, appearing to the right. Reverse features two graceful wheat ears surrounding the words 1 cent and United States of America, while EPLUBUSUNUM stretches across the upper portion. Although simple in appearance, this design had already become deeply familiar to generations of Americans. During wartime, that familiar image offered a sense of stability and continuity, reminding people that even during periods of tremendous uncertainty, everyday life continued. Physically, the 1944 Lincoln wheat cent returned to the familiar bronze alloy used before the temporary steel experiment. It is composed of approximately 95% copper, with the remaining 5% consisting primarily of zinc and tin, although much of the metal originated from recycled wartime brass. Each coin weighs about 3.11 grams, measures 19.05 millimeters in diameter, has a thickness of approximately 1.52 millimeters, and features a plain edge. Freshly struck examples displayed brilliant red surfaces with vibrant mint luster. As years passed, exposure to air and handling gradually transformed many coins into attractive shades of red-brown and eventually rich chocolate brown. Collectors often appreciate each stage of this natural aging process, particularly when the surfaces remain original and untouched. What makes the 1944 especially fascinating is the dramatic historical contrast it represents. The previous year's steel cent had looked and felt completely different from every other Lincoln cent. Many Americans disliked the steel version because it rusted when its protective coating wore away and was often confused with dimes. Returning to bronze in 1944 restored both the familiar appearance and public confidence in the nation's smallest denomination. Every 1944 cent quietly tells the story of adaptation, innovation, and resourcefulness during one of America's most challenging periods. Although the 1944 is generally considered a common date, collectors know that not every example is created equal. Strike quality varies from coin to coin, and finding examples with fully defined wheat lines, crisp lettering, strong Lincoln hair details, and minimal contact marks becomes increasingly difficult as condition improves. Many coins spent decades in circulation, leaving only a relatively small number of superb mint state survivors with full original red color. Those exceptional examples are the ones advanced collectors compete to acquire because quality, not simply rarity, often determines long-term desirability. Like many Lincoln wheat cents, the 1944 also offers collectors the excitement of genuine mint-made errors and varieties. Minor repunched mint marks have been identified on certain dies, while legitimate die cracks, die chips, struck-through errors, broad strikes, clipped planchets, lamination defects, and off-center strikes occasionally appear. These errors occurred during the minting process rather than after the coins entered circulation, making them desirable among specialists. One particularly famous rarity, connected with 1944 cents, involves the accidental striking of a tiny number of Bronze-era dates on leftover 1943 steel planchets. While those famous steel 1944 cents are among the rarest Lincoln cent errors, they are extraordinarily uncommon and should never be assumed without professional authentication. Ordinary silver-colored 1944 cents are often plated or altered after leaving the mint, and many hopeful discoveries ultimately prove not to be genuine. That uncertainty keeps collectors searching while reminding them that authentication always matters. Examining a potential variety requires patience rather than excitement. Under proper magnification, experienced collectors study the mint mark, lettering, date, and surface texture for signs of genuine mint characteristics. Raised die cracks differ from scratches. Authentic doubled features differ from machine doubling. Original mint surfaces reveal textures that cannot easily be recreated after cleaning or alteration. This careful detective work is one of the reasons coin collecting remains so rewarding. Every examination becomes an investigation into the coin's journey from the mint to the present day. Professional grading adds another important chapter to the story. Third-party grading companies such as PCGS and NGC evaluate coins using the internationally recognized Sheldon grading scale, assigning numerical grades based upon wear, strike quality, luster, preservation, and eye appeal. Circulated examples may fall into grades ranging from good through about uncirculated depending on remaining detail. Mint state examples receive grades from MS60 upward, with the finest surviving coins displaying exceptional surfaces, brilliant luster, and outstanding color. Copper coins receive additional color designations of brown, red-brown, or red, with full red examples typically commanding the strongest premiums because their original mint appearance has survived for decades. Market value reflects both condition and collector demand rather than age alone. Most circulated 1944 Lincoln wheat cents remain affordable and are commonly found for modest prices. Attractive extremely fine and about uncirculated examples bring higher premiums because fewer survive with limited wear. Certified mint state coins become progressively more valuable as grades improve, particularly those with original full red color. Exceptional gem quality examples certified by PCGS or NGC may sell for hundreds of dollars, while unusually well-preserved registry quality coins can command even stronger prices. Genuine authenticated mint errors may also carry significant premiums depending upon the specific era, rarity, and visual appeal. Yet experienced collectors understand that realistic expectations are essential. The overwhelming majority of 1944 cents are historical collectibles rather than instant fortunes, and their value should always be based upon actual market demand rather than sensational online claims. Preserving these coins properly is surprisingly important because copper reacts naturally with its environment. Moisture, fingerprints, cleaning chemicals, and improper storage can permanently alter original surfaces. Serious collectors avoid touching the faces of the coin whenever possible, holding it carefully by the edges instead. Protective archival holders, inert plastic capsules, or certified grading holders provide excellent long-term protection. Most importantly, collectors resist the temptation to polish or clean the coin. Although a cleaned coin may initially appear brighter, experienced buyers and professional grading services quickly recognize unnatural surfaces, and cleaning almost always reduces collector value. Authentication becomes increasingly important whenever a coin appears unusually valuable or unusual. Counterfeiters occasionally alter common Lincoln cents by adding mint marks, modifying dates, or changing surface color in hopes of creating more valuable varieties. Accurate weight, correct diameter, proper metallic composition, and close examination under magnification all contribute to verifying authenticity. For coins believed to represent important varieties, high-grade survivors, or significant mint errors, certification through PCGS or NGC provides valuable confidence for both collectors and future buyers. Eventually, many collectors consider selling part of their collections, and choosing the right marketplace makes a significant difference. Reputable local coin dealers offer convenience and immediate evaluation. Regional coin shows allow collectors to compare multiple offers while speaking directly with knowledgeable professionals. Established auction houses remain excellent choices for exceptional certified examples or important error coins because competitive bidding often produces stronger results. Reputable online numismatic marketplaces also provide access to a global audience, especially when listings include high-quality photographs and accurate descriptions. Regardless of where a coin is sold, researching recent comparable sales helps establish realistic expectations and ensures informed decisions. Perhaps the greatest appeal of the 1944 D. Lincoln wheat cent lies beyond its monetary value. Imagine this coin leaving the Denver Mint, while trains carried troops across the country and families eagerly awaited letters from loved ones serving overseas. Imagine it passing through the hands of factory workers building aircraft, store clerks supporting their communities, or children saving pennies for war bonds. Every surviving example witnessed a nation united by determination and sacrifice. Unlike many historical artifacts locked behind museum glass, this coin participated in everyday American life. It bought newspapers announcing historic victories, paid for meals shared by hardworking families, and quietly survived long after the events that shaped its existence had become history books. That emotional connection explains why collectors continue searching through rolls of old wheat cents with such excitement. The thrill is not simply about finding a valuable coin. It is about holding a genuine piece of history that once traveled through one of the most extraordinary periods in modern America. Every original surface, every tiny contact mark, and every carefully preserved detail reflects a journey spanning more than 8 decades. Few objects connect us so directly with the past, while remaining small enough to fit comfortably in the palm of a hand. Now that we've uncovered the secrets of this coin, it's time to move on to coin number 3, where an even rarer story awaits. Now that we've uncovered the secrets of the 1944 D. Lincoln wheat cent, it's time to continue our journey. With every step forward, these seemingly ordinary 1-cent coins reveal another layer of American history, reminding us that the smallest pieces of currency often preserve the biggest stories. Our next chapter takes us to 1945, a year unlike any other. The Second World War was approaching its dramatic conclusion. Millions of families were waiting for loved ones to return home, and an entire nation stood between relief and uncertainty. During this historic moment, the Denver Mint quietly struck another Lincoln wheat cent. At first glance, it looked almost identical to the coins that came before it. Yet hidden within its familiar bronze surface is the story of a country witnessing the end of one of humanity's greatest conflicts, making the 1945 D. Lincoln wheat cent far more than a simple piece of pocket change. By the beginning of 1945, America had become the industrial heart of the Allied war effort. Factories operated around the clock, producing aircraft, ships, vehicles, radios, and countless supplies needed overseas. Every part of the economy contributed to the national mission, and even everyday coinage reflected the enormous demands placed upon the country. Copper had once again become available for cent production after the temporary steel cent experiment of 1943, and by 1945, the familiar bronze Lincoln wheat cent had fully returned to circulation. Although most Americans hardly noticed the difference anymore, these coins quietly documented a remarkable period when even the nation's smallest denomination adapted to extraordinary circumstances. Every transaction involving a 1945 D cent became part of a much larger story unfolding across the United States. The Denver Mint, identified by the distinctive D mint mark beneath the date, continued producing millions of cents to meet the demands of a thriving wartime economy. Trains carried bags of freshly minted coins across western states, supplying banks, businesses, and communities where commerce never seemed to slow. Grocery stores, railroad stations, neighborhood diners, and local markets all depended upon a reliable flow of small change. Nobody paused to imagine that decades later collectors would carefully inspect these same coins under magnification, studying every tiny detail with remarkable patience. At the time, they represented nothing more than everyday money. Today, they represent living history. The design remained one of the most recognizable in American numismatics. Victor David Brenner's portrait of Abraham Lincoln continued to appear on the obverse, presenting the 16th president with quiet dignity rather than dramatic symbolism. Above Lincoln rests the national motto, "In God We Trust," while Liberty appears to the left and the date with its Denver Mint mark occupies the right side. Turn the coin over and 2 graceful wheat ears frame the words 1 cent and United States of America, with EPLUBUSUNUM positioned across the upper field. The design had already served Americans for more than 3 decades, becoming deeply woven into daily life. During the uncertainty of wartime, that familiar appearance offered a reassuring sense of continuity. Physically, the 1945 D Lincoln wheat cent shares the same trusted specifications that collectors recognize throughout the bronze wheat cent series of the era. It is composed of approximately 95% copper, with the remaining 5% consisting primarily of zinc and tin. Each coin weighs approximately 3.11 grams, measures 19.05 millimeters in diameter, has a thickness of about 1.52 millimeters, and features a plain edge. Fresh examples displayed brilliant red surfaces glowing with original mint luster. Over decades, exposure to air gradually transformed many into attractive red-brown and chocolate-brown tones. Collectors often categorize these colors as red, red-brown, and brown, with fully original red examples generally being the most desirable because they preserve the appearance the coin possessed when it first left the mint. Although millions of 1945 D cents were produced, survival alone does not guarantee quality. Most examples entered heavy circulation almost immediately, where years of handling slowly wore away Lincoln's hair, softened lettering, and reduced the sharpness of the wheat stalks. High-grade survivors with crisp details, minimal contact marks, and complete mint luster become increasingly scarce as the grading scale rises. That reality transforms an otherwise common date into a fascinating collecting challenge. Rather than searching only for rarity, experienced numismatists pursue exceptional preservation, appreciating that condition often matters just as much as mintage. The year itself adds emotional significance to every surviving example. Imagine one of these cents resting in the pocket of a factory worker finishing a shift after hearing news from Europe. Imagine another exchanged at a neighborhood grocery store while families gathered around radios waiting for announcements that would shape history forever. As victory approached, communities celebrated, mourned losses, and looked toward rebuilding a peaceful future. Every 1945, D cent silently witnessed these ordinary, yet unforgettable moments. Unlike historical documents preserved in archives, these coins traveled through countless hands, becoming part of everyday American life during one of the most meaningful years of the 20th century. Collectors also appreciate the 1945 D because it offers genuine mint-made varieties and production errors that provide insight into the minting process itself. While this issue is not famous for a major double die comparable to certain legendary Lincoln cent varieties, specialists have identified examples displaying repunched mint marks, die cracks, die chips, struck-through errors, clipped planchets, broad strikes, lamination defects, and off-center strikes. Each of these occurred naturally during production rather than through post-mint damage. A clipped planchet tells the story of a blank that was improperly cut before striking. A struck-through error preserves evidence of foreign material trapped between the die and planchet during minting. Die cracks gradually developed as dies wore under tremendous pressure, leaving raised lines on finished coins. These imperfections transform routine production mistakes into collectible pieces of mint history. Separating genuine mint errors from ordinary damage requires patience and careful observation. Years of circulation can create scratches, dents, corrosion, and discoloration that sometimes resemble valuable varieties. Under magnification, however, authentic mint-made features reveal themselves differently. Raised die cracks cannot be carved into a coin afterward. Genuine repunched mint marks display specific characteristics created during die preparation rather than random surface damage. Collectors gradually develop an eye for these differences, learning that successful treasure hunting depends more upon knowledge than luck. This careful examination naturally leads to professional grading. Organizations such as PCGS and NGC have established internationally respected standards that allow collectors to evaluate coins with consistency. Using the Sheldon grading scale, specialists examine wear, strike quality, luster, preservation, eye appeal, and originality before assigning numerical grades. Circulated coins showing substantial wear may fall within good or very good grades, while examples retaining stronger detail may qualify as fine, very fine, or extremely fine. About uncirculated pieces display only slight evidence of wear, while preserving much of their original brilliance. Mint state examples exhibit no circulation wear at all, with higher grades reflecting fewer contact marks, stronger luster, sharper strikes, and superior overall appearance. Copper color designations of brown, and red further influence desirability, because original mint color becomes increasingly difficult to preserve over many decades. Understanding market value requires balancing historical significance with actual collector demand. Most circulated 1945 D Lincoln wheat cents remain affordable and trade for modest premiums over face value. Attractive examples displaying limited wear often command somewhat stronger prices, while certified mint state coins become progressively more valuable as grades increase. Full red examples certified in high mint state grades may sell for hundreds of dollars because pristine survivors become much less common than original production figures might suggest. Authenticated mint errors can also command meaningful premiums depending upon the specific error, its visibility, rarity, and overall eye appeal. Nevertheless, experienced collectors avoid sensational headlines promising impossible fortunes. The real excitement comes from understanding why individual coins deserve their value rather than expecting every wheat cent to finance a retirement. Authentication becomes increasingly important whenever an unusual coin appears. Although counterfeiters generally focus on rarer dates, altered mint marks, manipulated surfaces, and modified dates occasionally appear in the marketplace. Accurate measurements of weight, diameter, thickness, and metallic composition all contribute to verifying authenticity. Surface texture also provides valuable clues because original mint surfaces differ noticeably from cleaned, polished, or artificially recolored examples. When collectors believe they have discovered an important variety, unusually well-preserved specimen, or significant mint error, submitting the coin to PCGS or NGC provides professional authentication together with an impartial grade recognized throughout the hobby. Preservation remains equally essential because copper reacts continuously with its environment. Moisture, airborne contaminants, fingerprints, and improper storage gradually alter original surfaces. Serious collectors therefore handle valuable coins only by their edges whenever possible, minimizing direct contact with the fields and design elements. Archival quality holders, inert plastic capsules, and professionally sealed grading holders provide excellent long-term protection while allowing the coin to be viewed safely. Stable temperatures and low humidity further reduce the likelihood of corrosion or spotting. Most importantly, experienced numismatists resist the temptation to clean old coins. Natural tunning often enhances historical character, whereas polishing almost always leaves permanent evidence that professional graders quickly recognize. Eventually, every collection reaches a moment when buying gives way to selling, and selecting the right venue becomes an important decision. Trusted local coin dealers remain an excellent starting point because they can examine coins in person and provide immediate evaluations. Regional coin shows offer opportunities to compare multiple opinions while meeting experienced collectors and specialists. Well-established auction houses frequently achieve outstanding results for exceptional certified coins, particularly those with unusually high grades or desirable mint errors. Reputable online numismatic marketplaces expand the audience even further, allowing sellers to reach collectors across the country and around the world. Clear photographs, accurate descriptions, and professional certification inspire greater buyer confidence and often produce stronger final prices. Regardless of where a coin is sold, reviewing recent comparable sales helps establish realistic expectations grounded in current market activity. Perhaps the greatest treasure hidden inside the 1945 D Lincoln wheat cent cannot be measured in dollars at all. Imagine this coin leaving the Denver Mint, while soldiers prepared for journeys home and families waited anxiously for reunions that had been postponed for years. Imagine it passing across a pharmacy counter where someone purchased medicine, or across a diner table where friends gathered to discuss hopes for the future. Picture it slipping unnoticed into a child's pocket, eventually disappearing into a dresser drawer for decades before resurfacing in a modern collection. Every surviving example carries invisible memories of ordinary lives lived during extraordinary times. Unlike grand monuments or famous paintings, coins participated directly in everyday history. They were touched, exchanged, saved, forgotten, and rediscovered, quietly preserving human stories within their worn bronze surfaces. That is why experienced collectors rarely judge a wheat cent by its face value alone. They see evidence of craftsmanship, wartime industry, economic resilience, and generations of Americans whose daily lives unfolded alongside these humble coins. Every original surface tells a different story. Every contact mark hints at another transaction long forgotten. Every carefully preserved mint-state example offers a glimpse of how the coin looked when it first emerged from the coining press nearly 80 years ago. Even heavily circulated examples possess historical dignity because they fulfilled the purpose for which they were created, faithfully serving the nation through years of constant use. As our countdown continues, the story grows even richer. Each coin reveals another chapter in the remarkable journey of the Lincoln Wheat Cent series, showing how history can be preserved in objects so small they often escape notice. What began as ordinary pocket change has become a window into America's past, inviting collectors to become historians, investigators, and treasure hunters all at once. And if you thought this coin was extraordinary, wait until you see our final coin. Let's move to the last chapter of today's countdown. And if you thought the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Cent was extraordinary, this final chapter brings our journey to a fitting conclusion. Throughout this countdown, we've watched America evolve through some of the most defining years in its history, with each small copper coin quietly preserving moments that textbooks could never fully capture. Now we arrive at the last coin in today's collection, the 1950 United States Lincoln Wheat Cent. At first glance, it may seem like the least dramatic of the group. It wasn't struck during the Great Depression, nor did it emerge in the middle of World War II. Yet that is exactly what makes its story so compelling. It represents a nation looking toward the future while still carrying the memories of the past. And for collectors, it serves as a remarkable reminder that history does not end when great events fade from the headlines. Sometimes history continues through the ordinary objects people overlook every single day. By 1950, the United States had entered a new era. The devastating war was over, returning servicemen had reunited with their families, industries that had fueled the war effort shifted back toward civilian production, and communities across the country were embracing growth and opportunity. New homes appeared across expanding suburbs, businesses flourished, automobiles filled newly constructed highways, and millions of Americans looked forward with optimism. Yet even as the country changed, one familiar object remained constant in nearly every pocket and cash register, the Lincoln Wheat Cent. It was still the coin children received as change after buying candy, the coin dropped into church collection boxes, the coin saved in glass jars by families hoping to build small savings 1 penny at a time. Its purchasing power may have been modest, but its presence in daily American life was enormous. The Lincoln Wheat Cent had already become one of the most recognized coins ever issued by the United States Mint. Introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it marked a turning point in American coinage by becoming the first regularly circulating United States coin to feature the portrait of a real historical figure. Victor David Brenner's design balanced simplicity with dignity. Lincoln's calm profile appears on the obverse beneath the inscription "In God We Trust," while liberty rests beside the portrait and the date completes the composition. Turn the coin over, and 2 elegant wheat ears frame the words 1 cent and United States of America, with EPLURBUSUNUM positioned above. The reverse celebrated agriculture, prosperity, and the enduring strength of the nation, becoming an image recognized by generations of Americans. Unlike some earlier coins in our countdown, the 1950 Lincoln Wheat Cent was produced during a period of relative stability. By then, the United States Mint had refined decades of experience producing Lincoln cents, allowing millions of coins to leave the presses with consistent quality. Philadelphia struck coins without a mint mark, while Denver and San Francisco produced coins carrying the familiar D and S mint marks. Regardless of where they were struck, these cents entered circulation almost immediately, disappearing into commerce before anyone imagined they would someday become collectible pieces of history. The physical characteristics of the 1950 Lincoln wheat cent remained faithful to the traditional bronze composition that collectors know so well. Each coin was made from approximately 95% copper, with the remaining 5% consisting primarily of zinc and tin. It weighs about 3.11 grams, measures 19.05 millimeters in diameter, has a thickness of roughly 1.52 millimeters, and features a plain edge. Freshly struck examples displayed brilliant red surfaces with vibrant mint luster reflecting beneath the lights of the mint. As years passed, natural oxidation slowly transformed many coins into attractive shades of red-brown and eventually deep brown. Collectors generally classify these colors as red, red-brown, and brown, with original red examples commanding stronger interest because they preserve the appearance the coin possessed when it first entered circulation. The story of the 1950 wheat cent is not built upon wartime emergency or dramatic changes in composition. Instead, its significance lies in continuity. It represents the final years of the wheat cent design before one of the most important transitions in American coinage. Less than a decade later, in 1959, the reverse would change forever, replacing the familiar wheat ears with the Lincoln Memorial. That means every 1950 wheat cent belongs to the closing chapter of an era that had begun in 1909. Collectors understand this historical position well. Each surviving coin bridges the gap between early 20th century America and the modern age, quietly preserving a design that would soon become part of history itself. Although the 1950 issue is not considered a major rarity, condition dramatically influences desirability. Most examples spent decades circulating through stores, schools, banks, restaurants, and neighborhoods, gradually losing the sharp details that once defined Lincoln's portrait and the delicate lines within the wheat ears. Finding a coin with crisp lettering, strong strike quality, minimal contact marks, and complete original luster becomes increasingly challenging as the grade improves. That is why advanced collectors often focus not simply on finding the date itself, but on locating the finest preserved example possible. As with nearly every Lincoln wheat cent, genuine mint-made varieties and production errors add another layer of fascination. Specialists have documented examples displaying die cracks, die chips, struck-through errors, clipped planchets, broad strikes, lamination defects, off-center strikes, and other authentic mint errors that occurred naturally during production. Certain die varieties have also attracted specialist attention, although no widely recognized major variety dominates the 1950 issue in the way some famous Lincoln cent dates do. These legitimate mint-made imperfections remind collectors that coin production is both an industrial process and a form of craftsmanship. Even with sophisticated machinery, every die gradually wore, every press required adjustment, and occasional mistakes escaped into circulation, creating pieces that later became highly desirable among specialists. The excitement of discovering an unusual coin often begins with careful observation. Under magnification, tiny details invisible to the naked eye suddenly become important. Raised lines may indicate genuine die cracks. Slightly misplaced strikes reveal off-center production. Lamination errors expose imperfections within the metal itself before striking. At the same time, experienced collectors learn to distinguish genuine mint characteristics from scratches, corrosion, cleaning, or damage caused long after the coin entered circulation. Knowledge becomes the collector's greatest tool, transforming ordinary pocket change into an exciting historical investigation. Professional grading provides another essential chapter in the coin's journey. Independent grading services such as PCGS and NGC evaluate coins using the Sheldon grading scale, assigning standardized numerical grades that allow collectors throughout the world to communicate consistently about quality. Circulated examples range from heavily worn good grades through increasingly detailed fine, very fine, extremely fine, and about uncirculated levels. Mint state coins show no evidence of circulation wear and are graded according to strike quality, luster, surface preservation, contact marks, and eye appeal. Copper color designations of brown, and red further influence collector demand because preserving original mint color for more than 70 years becomes increasingly difficult. Two coins with identical numerical grades may differ substantially in value simply because one retains vibrant original red surfaces while the other has naturally toned brown. Understanding market value requires realistic expectations grounded in actual collector demand rather than sensational headlines. Most circulated 1950 Lincoln wheat cents remain affordable and are valued primarily for their historical appeal. Attractive examples with stronger detail command moderate premiums, while high-grade mint state coins certified by PCGS or NGC become significantly more desirable. Full red certified examples in exceptional grades may reach hundreds of dollars because so few survive with pristine original surfaces. Authenticated mint errors and unusual varieties may command additional premiums depending upon their rarity and visual appeal. Yet experienced collectors know that true value always depends upon condition, originality, certification when appropriate, and current market demand rather than exaggerated internet claims. Authentication becomes increasingly important whenever a coin appears unusually valuable. Altered mint marks, artificial tunning, cleaning, and counterfeit examples occasionally appear within the marketplace. Measuring weight, diameter, and composition provides useful preliminary information, while careful examination under magnification often reveals inconsistencies associated with altered pieces. For important discoveries, submission to PCGS or NGC offers independent authentication together with professional grading. Certification not only protects the coin inside a secure holder, but also increases buyer confidence whenever the coin is eventually offered for sale. Proper preservation ensures that these small pieces of history continue surviving for future generations. Copper naturally reacts with moisture, airborne contaminants, and fingerprints, making careful handling essential. Experienced collectors hold coins only by their edges whenever possible, avoiding direct contact with the surfaces. Archival quality holders, inert plastic capsules, or professionally certified holders provide long-term protection while allowing safe viewing. Stable storage conditions with low humidity further reduce environmental damage. Perhaps the most important rule remains the simplest: never clean the coin. Although polishing may seem appealing, cleaning almost always removes original surface characteristics that collectors and grading services value most highly. Eventually, every collector reaches a point where selling becomes part of the journey. Serious collectors often buy and sell through trusted local coin dealers who possess years of numismatic experience. Regional and national coin shows provide opportunities to compare offers while meeting specialists who understand the Lincoln wheat cent series in great detail. Established auction houses remain excellent choices for certified high-grade examples, important varieties, or significant mint errors because competitive bidding frequently produces strong results. Reputable online numismatic marketplaces also allow sellers to reach collectors around the world, especially when listings include professional photographs, accurate descriptions, and certification from respected grading companies. Regardless of the selling method, studying recent comparable sales helps establish realistic expectations and encourages informed decisions. Yet perhaps the greatest lesson hidden within the 1950 Lincoln wheat cent has nothing to do with grading, market value, or rarity. Throughout this countdown, we have followed small coins across decades of American history. We have witnessed economic recovery, global conflict, industrial achievement, and the optimism of a growing nation. Each coin quietly preserved moments that might otherwise have been forgotten. None of them were created to become museum pieces. They were made to circulate, to serve ordinary people, and to fulfill the simple purpose of everyday commerce. Their survival today is almost accidental, and that is precisely what makes them extraordinary. Imagine this final coin resting inside a family's kitchen drawer for generations, unnoticed until someone curious decided to take a closer look. Imagine it tucked inside an old piggy bank, hidden within a forgotten cigar box, or waiting patiently inside a jar of loose change on a dusty shelf. Every collector has experienced that moment of excitement when an ordinary-looking coin suddenly reveals something unexpected. Sometimes it is exceptional preservation. Sometimes it is an unusual variety. Sometimes it is simply the realization that the coin has quietly survived decades of history. Those discoveries remind us that collecting is not merely about financial value. It is about curiosity, patience, learning, and preserving tangible connections to the people who came before us. That is why the Lincoln Wheat Cent continues to inspire new generations of collectors more than a century after its introduction. It teaches us that history is not confined to famous landmarks or priceless artifacts. History can fit comfortably in the palm of your hand. A single penny can connect us to presidents, factory workers, schoolchildren, soldiers, shopkeepers, and families whose lives unfolded long before ours. Every coin carries a story, and every collection becomes a personal archive of those stories, waiting to be explored one coin at a time. As our countdown comes to an end, remember that the true reward of coin collecting is not simply finding a valuable piece. It is discovering the remarkable history hidden inside ordinary objects that most people never stop to examine. Every date, every mint mark, every subtle variety offers another opportunity to learn something new about the past. The next unforgettable discovery may not appear in a museum display or an expensive auction catalog. It may already be sitting quietly inside your own home, waiting for someone with patience and curiosity to recognize its importance. If you enjoyed this journey through some of the most fascinating Lincoln Wheat Cents, don't forget to like this video and share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear which coin surprised you the most and whether you've ever discovered an interesting wheat cent in your own collection. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss our next adventure into the hidden world of rare and historic coins. Until next time, keep searching through your jars of pennies, old family collections, inherited coin albums, and forgotten drawers, because the next rare coin could already be waiting in your home, ready to tell its incredible story.